We have developed He Ngakau Noa as the girls' program, and then He Ngakau Toa as the boys' program, out of this belief that there's another way of engaging young people who are suffering exclusion from existing systems. Potentially, I've seen that the youth attending here have fallen right through the entire system. They've usually dropped out of even alt-ed systems and have become invisible in our community, to the system anyway. So that was our attempt, was to engage these young people who are at home on the streets into a sense of belonging to something that was vibrant, cared about them, advanced them educationally, helped develop their aspirations and their dreams, develop the values on which they wanted to live their lives by, and developed and strengthened the whānau and wider systems that could be resources and could support them.
Mm. Yep. And the child, youth and family, all of that, and the child, youth and family perspective is providing a resource in the community for the young people who child, youth and family have run out of ideas for, in regard to re-engaging them in education, which is one of the risk factors for youth offending, re-engaging them with their community, which is one of the risk factors for our young women who become, if they're not overly noisy, violent, and coming to the attention of police, they are invisible. They're in their homes and they're not doing anything, and often becoming pregnant as a sort of just as a part of the norm. So it also provides an opportunity for child, youth and family social workers to work alongside an NGO and know that they haven't hit a wall with these young people, and the young people are accepted, and knowing that they're not going to be working with them 3 weeks down the track when they have been excluded from that program. It's very, very important, and the outcomes, of course, are all positive for the young people because of all the skills that they need to learn. They have an awareness about who they are and how they fit in their own world, in a community that they begin to belong to, and then start making plans for the future. So that happens through what you guys deliver so much, individual plans, group work, re-engagement with education, just initially through correspondence, and then following through into re-engagement with UCOL, employment, mainstream education, re-engagement into, like Bruce was talking about, hip-hop, becoming interested in their talents and having the opportunity to follow those interests, working in a group, working with other young people, and knowing how to manage yourself in those kind of environments and represent yourself in a way that doesn't leave you scared, angry, and alone. But when that does happen, because it will, learning how to re-engage and come back into that group, and being part of a group that accepts somebody back into it, because that's what happens in families.
I think in many ways it's an approach to a young person rather than a program. Even though I often use the word program, I'm just reflecting that prior to even us just doing this interview, we were looking at a puppy where a staff member took a whole van load of young people yesterday, which was a Sunday, to another city to purchase a puppy for herself. But I think it's the sense that was part of an intentional part of an approach that this was about creating a family. And I guess the other part of it is ensuring that that they have access to services. One of the core things I think we're providing is ensuring that they have sexual health that they have relational skills so that they can know as young men and women how to be respectful to each other, how to say no, how to not feel subservient to another. It's a holistic wraparound development of life. It is sort of us being the family that often these young people, to a remarkable extent, haven't had.
I just wonder, as you're talking, thinking, what difference do you see, because you've both got experience outside of the He Ngakau Noa and He Ngakau Toa models of practice, what difference do you think it makes for the young people that you two and your two organisations actually work so closely together over their individual care?
Well, they see the trust, and they know that we're working together, so that their story is the same. They don't have to repeat their story. Yeah. I think that's and they're watching us.
They also know that they can't play us off against each other.
Yeah, and they watch. I think when you are there, they know you're there. When I'm there, or one of our staff are there, they know that our it's their social worker from Child, Youth and Family is there, and that's okay. This isn't a threatening thing. They're working alongside the Bruce's team. They see me and, there's Donna from Child, Youth and Family, but that's because as part of the program, that's what happens, but there's no sort of negative connotations to that.
I was wondering, what is the difference in terms of how a young person experiences being involved in the programs because your two organisations work together? Like, I know your staff, Donna, come in to breakfasts and they come in and they be part of things, and you and your staff go to meetings at Child, Youth and Family, but so the young people know your two organisations work together over the care for them. And that seemed to be different to organisations working individually on the same young person.
Yeah, no, I think there's a whole lot of practices that go on to, which the young person's usually aware of, that mean that the young person's interests are paramount. I think one of the questions I ask or say to the young people, it's like, who's on your team? And that you're richer the more people you've got on your team if they're all trying to want the best for you. And so I think there's some quite practical ways that we do this. I know that one of Donna's staff joins us virtually every Wednesday for breakfast with the young men and women. Somebody could question that and say, oh, that's not a very good use of time, but actually it is building relationships. In addition, the young people, we often are attending family group conferences where we have worked with Child and Family staff prior to the family group conference about what are possible best outcomes. We have tried to prepare the young person well for what they might want to say in those conferences, because I've learned that actually young people, and I'm sure your research shows that too, is they do not have a voice. They are the voiceless. And so elevating them to have a sense of growing their own power, their own voice, their own right to at least input decision-making about their lives has become part of the practices that we've developed as we work within legislation around the young people.
And that's really important for us to have the voice of the young person or the child heard, and how that happens is how it happens, and I think that's really important. So hugely important.
I heard of a young person recently where some family members and including Child Youth and Family staff could be quite negative about this young person, and yet I knew one of my staff was supporting this young man to present himself well, and advocating for him that by telling stories of of his positive attributes that needed to be brought to the table, so that he was seen in his entirety, not just for the deficits and the problems that so quickly dominate the story of each of him as a young person and of every young person.
Working with police, when
Yes.
when we're
Yes.
talking about a couple of steps backwards, youth aid, I think that advocacy
Yes.
and support, and the child youth and family social workers, and your team working with the young person, they'll get some much better results, better plan, or even if it's just diversion or something like that. The police, they know and feel confident that you guys are in there with us to support the police as well. And, I think that's the difference. So we're there, just like family are there.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Something goes wrong, you're there,
Mm.
and you're not excluded from the family just because you've done something dumb. You just need to be accountable and all that kind of thing, but we're still there. It's very important.
And I think there's also the beginnings of, because of our shared engagement with the lives of young people, there's a sense of prompting each other to think of the wider systems, what are the wider issues that need to be addressed. Legal highs have made an incredible impact in a very short period of time. I would not have been hearing about legal highs 12 months ago, and yet now it drastically can affect young people's behaviours.